it becomes performance, it becomes power. It becomes really hard to tell the difference between someone who is emotionally aware and someone who is just really good sounding like they are.
I never planned to be in psychoeducation. I kind of fell into it. Mindfulness, coaching. But behind a calm voice, I was walking on eggshells. There was a rule book. Yeah, no thanks. I ask questions. I live in the gray zones. This is space in between. No fluff, no filters. Welcome. You're in the right place.
You're listening to Space in Between, a place for the messy, the honest, and the questions we're usually too tired, too afraid, or too human to ask out loud. I'm Vesna, and I'm not here to fix you or to sell you a perfectly packaged version of healing. I'm here to name the things you've probably felt but weren't sure you were allowed to say out loud. This podcast is where we press pause on the performance, where we trade polished for honest, where we say the messy thing, sit with the discomfort, and maybe even laugh at how good we've gotten at sounding healed. And look, if my words today aren't assertive enough, trauma informed enough, or don't pass your personal NLP certification checklist before you cancel, call out, or shut this down, just listen to the whole thing. Take a breath, be gentle with yourself. Then, if you still want to cancel me, I highly recommend my episode on cancel culture. Might be helpful or infuriating. Either way, enjoy. It starts in the group chat. Someone shares an opinion that doesn't land quite right. Not cruel, not even unkind, just uncomfortable. An hour later, a message pops up. This space no longer feels aligned with my healing. Some of the energy here is toxic, and I'm removing myself for my own mental health. Okay, last week we unpacked bias, those slippery, often invisible moments where our best intentions rub against someone else's raw lived reality. This week, we're staying in that tension, that edge where language, power, and discomfort tangle together. Let's talk about one of my favorite topics, therapy speak. You've heard it. Maybe you said it. I'm setting a boundary. That's toxic. This is my truth. I'm triggered. I'm protecting my energy. These words weren't born in malice. They were forged in spaces of healing, carved out in therapy rooms, recovery circles, and safe spaces where silence used to live. They can be life saving. Language that helps name the unspeakable. But lately, something's changed. These words are popping up as shields, as a way to shut people down, as a kind of badge to prove you're more emotionally evolved than everyone else in the. Let's be real. There's a certain satisfaction in saying, I'm just protecting my peace, while cutting someone off who made you feel a bit uncomfortable. It's not always about growth. Sometimes it's just a fancy way of avoiding hard stuff. Sure, maybe you've been to therapy, done the inner work, lit some candles, and journaled your heart out. If you're using it all that to avoid real conversations, ignore feedback, or call people toxic the moment they challenge you, that's not healing. That's just hiding behind nice words. When therapy speak turns into a way to avoid responsibility or feel better than others, it stops helping. It becomes a performance. Therapy language was meant to help us connect, to process, to take responsibility for ourselves. But lately, for real, it feels like it becomes part of a trend, like somewhere between your third inner child reel and your fifth boundaries are sexy infographic, healing became aesthetic. Now it's less about doing the work and more about sounding like you have. You memorize the buzzwords, buy the crystals, post about nervous system regulation, and suddenly you're the emotionally mature one in every room you enter. Not sure how to say you're annoyed? Call it a boundary. Don't want to face the fact that you messed up? Just say, that's my truth. Avoiding someone you ghosted? Easy. I'm protecting my energy. Shutting down a hard conversation? Try, I don't have capacity for this right now. And listen, I get it. I've done it. I dropped the protecting my energy line when I really meant I don't want to deal with you right now. I rather disappear than explain myself. Or this is super uncomfortable and I have no idea what to say without looking like asshole. And that's okay. There's grace for that. We're human. We're messy. Let's be honest. When we use therapy language to manipulate, avoid, or control, when we hide behind the language of healing to dodge growth, it stops being healing. It becomes performance. It becomes power. It becomes really hard to tell the difference between someone who is emotionally aware and someone who is just really good sounding like they are. And yep, that whole trend of doing the work as a personal brand, that's a whole other episode. It's one thing to set a healthy boundary. It's another to build a 10-foot emotional wall, lock the gate, throw away the key, and hang on soft pastel Instagram quote that says, I protect my peace. It's one thing to name a trigger, it's another to weaponize I'm triggered as a way to end the conversation, control the room, or make sure no one else's pain gets airtime. And this is my truth. Sure, your story matters, your feelings are real. But my truth doesn't give you a free pass to rewrite reality. It doesn't cancel someone else's truth. It doesn't mean you get to cause harm and walk away because your truth felt right in the moment. And let's talk about the energy vampires for a second. Not everyone who is having a hard time is draining. Not everyone who is messy or emotional or going through it is toxic. Sometimes we slap the label on people just because they're inconvenient or annoying for us, because their pain reminds us of something we don't want to deal with in ourselves. There's a big difference between protecting your peace and avoiding people who need you to show up in ways that aren't always comfortable. Healing language should open doors, not close them. It should help us see ourselves more clearly, not hide from the mess we don't want to own. And sometimes growth isn't about finding the right words. It's about sitting in the silence after you realized you've misused them. Here's the tricky thing, it sounds impressive. It sounds like emotional intelligence, like growth, like you've been to therapy, read all the right books, and are now walking around like a fully certified, trauma informed enlightenment coach. But let's be real. Sometimes it's not growth, it's just a polished version of hiding. Sometimes the people who sound the most healed are actually just the best at avoiding their own mess. Because when you're using fancy language to dodge hard truths, control the narrative, or shut other people down, that's not empowerment. That's not depth. That's just a well branded defense mechanism. And when your healing becomes a script to keep you safe, right, and untouchable, it's not healing anymore. It's performance. So, what do we do instead? We stay honest. We stay humble. We gut check ourselves. Am I using this language to connect or to avoid? Am I setting a boundary or just making sure I never have to be uncomfortable again in my life? Am I protecting my peace or dodging accountability because I don't want to face my own impact? We don't have to throw away therapy language. Please remember, we do not do black and white thinking here. It can still be a tool for healing, for clarity, for care, but only if we use it to get closer to ourselves and each other, not to stay in control. We don't have to turn it into a weapon. We don't have to slap a self help quote on every wound and call it a growth. We don't have to treat healing like a competitive sport, like some kind of personal development quiz. How many people have you cut off in the name of boundaries this month? Have you declared someone toxic before breakfast? And of course, did you protect your peace today or just avoid the uncomfortable conversation for the sixth time? Real growth? It's messier. It means showing up, even when it's awkward, raw, or you don't have the right words yet. Because healing isn't about proving you've done the work, it's about doing the work without needing to make it a brand. If this episode made you reflect or made you cringe a little, good. Me too. Because healing isn't always pretty, and self awareness isn't always soft. Sometimes growth sounds like, you're right. You're right. I didn't show up the way I meant to. That wasn't a boundary. That was me avoiding you. I'm still learning. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. That's not weakness, that's maturity. So here's a question to sit with it until next time. Are you using your healing to get closer to people or to stay in control of them? Next week, we're talking about performative vulnerability, how oversharing, crying on camera, and public breakdowns can feel real, but sometimes serve a different purpose. Where is the line between honesty and performance? And what are we really looking for when we show our mess to strangers? If this episode made you pause, share it. If it made you feel uncomfortable, definitely share it. And remember, it's not about being right, it's about being real. See you next time in the space between protecting my energy and I'm actually just avoiding you. Stay uncomfortable.